And so the conclusion of this study was there is no time for training. There are no standards and benchmarks also for training. There's a lot of different workflows, a lot of different standards, a lot of different schools. And the current tools, which are used for e-learning, also for sharing of videos, also social media and so on, is insufficient for training. So the software which is existing today is insufficient. And the main problem we see and we realized is that the main focus usually on the software is on the learner. So everything is done to have a nice tool and a nice appearance for the learner, but there is not a lot of tools for the content managers. I mean, there are tools in e-learning for content managers, but the surgeons, the expert surgeons, are a special type of content managers. They are working in the operating room and they want to extract the content directly from the operating theater. And this is our idea. So we believe still in the see one, do one, teach one approach, which is very old. But what we want to do is we want to transfer this approach, this master novice approach. So you learn from the real master, you learn by watching. We want to transfer it into the digital world. And this is what we did with our software, and I show you in a minute just how we can use the software. And the software can be used that you model your surgical workflow, your cases, you load it with a structured didactic content, and then every user can copy, edit, and share it like in Wikipedia. And then for each workflow, you can upload a lot of different cases. You can upload cases from the simulation, you can upload the cases from the real surgery, you can upload the cases from the specimen training or from your own training, and you still have the old workflows of your teachers. So you can compare the workflow of your teacher, the case of your teacher, and your own workflow. You can also compare workflows of different teachers, of different reviewed authors. So you have a situation where you have a reviewed author and you are the recent author, and then you can share your workflows within a workflow family with the community. And you have a dedicated workflow structure which you can adapt. I can show you this in a minute. You can adapt this workflow structure, you can edit the workflow, you can move the different steps, you can show and hide, but you cannot delete workflow steps and you cannot add workflow steps because you want to share the workflow within the workflow family, within the community. So we want to have an assessment, a comparison of workflows, and at the same time, you can edit your individual workflow. So we have different poles, and different poles we integrated into one software, into the mySebastian software. And then you can perform your workflows according to the workflows, and you can integrate the videos of your cases. Then you can integrate learning objectives, you can integrate benchmarks as the teachers or as learning or surgical organizations, and you can integrate some illustration instruments, graphical material as conditions. Yes, and this is running, and if everything works well, you have now the view of the software. If not, please give me a hint. And now I log in into the software. And I can see my network. These are the early adopters. This is still a beta version, but it works. And we need now a lot of different surgeons and a lot of different users to validate this software. This is still research. It is funded by the Austrian Research Agency. And now we want to do a validation. So for example, I have a surgery from spine surgery, from lumbar spine surgery. I have here a description of the surgery. All this material is from my university time in Leipzig. You have all the different steps of this surgery. And then if you don't like this procedure, because you usually do the laminectomy before the flavectomy, which could be the case, then you go to the edit and you just take it and you shift it, and then you have your own workflow. But still, the other workflows are still stored and you can compare it. And if you go into one of these steps, you can show how you should do this certain step. And you see here the instruments and some illustrations. and you see a case video, and then you can share different case videos. This is from a simulation. We developed this simulator in Leipzig at the University of Applied Sciences, but you can also integrate real surgeries, and you can compare this and share this and assess it and whatever you want. And now if I go back to the slides, if everything works well, you see the slides again. Then you can see our next steps. And now I want to hand over to Michael, because later on we want to integrate also sensor information. And for example, this sensor information can come also from a surgical robot. And this surgical robot can be, for example, the system which is developed by Interventional Systems.
mySebastian. Share expertise.